When I played Sonic 1 on Genesis for my last Sonic video, I got a bit nervous. See, it's always a strange feeling when you experience something everyone loves and you just don't get it. I experienced something very similar with my wife when she introduced me to the world of Twilight, and The Bachelor, and Love is Blind, and literature. So I didn't like Sonic the Hedgehog, and I began to question if maybe the series as a whole just wasn't for me. But then I played Sonic the Hedgehog, and after playing this, everything changed. I get it. It all makes sense to me now. I understand. Now, per my last video, I only really hated Sonic 1 because I thought the level design was about as well thought out as my plan to attract a mate with citrus-flavored Axe body spray in high school. So I guess it's not actually that surprising that I really liked a Sonic game with level design that didn't reek. It's funny because the game reuses a lot of the same zones and concepts. Green Hill, Scrap Brain, even Labyrinth, but they're all really fun here. Well, Labyrinth, it's alright. It's not a demake at all for the portable Game Gear. This is a completely new game. In fact, even though I'm playing this game on the Game Gear, this was originally released on the Sega Master System, just like a lot of the Game Gear library. Except apparently with the Master System version, there's less screen crunch and better graphics, and it's the definitive version. Because of this, Sega makes sure that we don't ever get access to this version. Thank you, Sega, you've done it again. But the fact this is on a portable system in 1991 is extremely impressive. I'd say this is the technological achievement more so than the Genesis version. Terrible level design isn't an achievement, otherwise Mrs. HydratedGaming would be Developer of the Year with her demented Mario Maker levels. But this is awesome. Look at what was going on with Nintendo's handheld at the time, and I mean no disrespect to Balloon Kid, but this is cool. But getting into a little more detail, why do I like this game so much better? Well, basically take everything I liked about the original and keep it the exact same. Then take everything I didn't like about the original and change it completely and you have Sonic 1 on the Game Gear. The only thing that I don't like here is that you can no longer collect the rings that you lose after you're hit, they just go away. I'm assuming this is because of hardware limitations, but still, it's kinda lame. That one negative aside though, Sonic still feels fast and controlling him is exciting, even though you do have to be more cautious with the smaller screen size, meaning that you can't just blitz blindly ahead. I don't mind this at all though because I like traditional platformers, and this game here just feels like a faster paced version of a standard platformer. The levels feel built around the quickness and sensitivity of these controls, and it makes the game a thrill to play. I don't mean to go digging up bad memories, but remember the special stages from Sonic 1? Remember how those felt like punishments instead of rewards? You viciously hoard 50 rings and this is what awaits you? Like, I get greed as one of the 7 deadly sins, but this is Sonic the Hedgehog, not the Inferno. Why am I being punished like this? But the special stages here, a ton of fun. You go bouncing everywhere, you pick up tons of rings, you get stuck. And you can nab a lot of continues on these, like this feels like a reward. These also make the challenge level feel a lot more fair as you start to stack up extra lives and continues pretty quickly. Contrast this with the Genesis version where I don't know how you're supposed to beat this thing with just the lives that you're given. I still recommend using save states here because once again, if you get a game over, you restart at the title screen, which just isn't a fun mechanic. But the challenge here is a lot more fair, so this is more of a precaution. If you play carefully, I don't even think you'll end up needing these once you get used to things. But the biggest difference between this game and the Genesis version is that every time I died here, I felt like it was my fault, not the developers pulling a prank. As an example of what I'm talking about, in my last video I somehow forgot to mention my least favorite design idea from the Genesis version. In the Scrap Brain water level, there's this section here where you go underwater and see these rings over here. Well, that's nice, I always grab rings when I see them, but it turns out this is a trap. See, they made sure to place this next oxygen bubble at such a distance where if newcomers aren't platforming with pinpoint precision after getting these rings, you now don't have enough time to stand on the spot until a new bubble comes out and basically you drown. In other words, you have to ignore these rings or die. This "I hate the player and wish death upon him and his descendants" attitude is not present for this game, and I appreciate that. Real quickly, we'll roll through some of the highlights of Sonic 1 on the Game Gear. Oh, you want to know about the plot before we get started? Stop Eggman. Right, so level 1 you get started at the traditional Green Hill Zone. And what's this? It's giving you all the power-ups up front to teach you what they do? A big hill that shows you that rolling into a ball can make you go real fast and kill enemies? Is this game trying to show the player the mechanics in a natural way? Is this game design that wants me to have fun? Green Hill 2 is a neat little maze, and then you have Green Hill 3 with the world's easiest boss fight against Eggman. All of Green Hill just feels like it's easing you in and teaching you everything that you'll need to know for the journey ahead. Great design. Then you got Bridge Zone over here. Fun stages, and it even introduces you to the Chaos Emeralds in a natural way by having them be in a strange spot you have to work to get to, but still in plain sight. I love how Chaos Emeralds are now a reward for exploration rather than perseverance through suffering. Though the latter is very important in life, I play video games as a form of escapism, so I prefer this system and I hope it's a mechanic that's here to stay. Bridge Zone is just fun. There is an auto-scroller here which has no place in a Sonic game, sure, but they put in this incredible song to distract you from that. I'm fine with going slow. Heck, I'm fine with not moving at all if it means I get to listen to this a little longer. Forest Zone has a bit of a difficulty bump, and I was horrible at this first stage, but that was a me problem. The challenge is fair, but it's a challenge. Same with the Eggman boss fight here, which actually kind of echoes my other least favorite element from Sonic 1 with the spiky balls and the half pipe, where everyone told me if I wasn't complete trash at the game I could skip them. But because I was and am complete trash at the game I couldn't skip them. But here the physics for jumping over the balls actually worked, so I like it. Then you got Labyrinth Zone, which is, well, another bad water zone, but it's not as bad as the Genesis version, it goes by pretty quick. Also, the boss fight takes place entirely underwater with no time limit to get air bubbles, and proves Sonic can breathe underwater, but has just been faking it the entire time.
Liar!
Scrap Brain Zone is more of a labyrinth than Labyrinth Zone. It is also much more enjoyable. This is a Labyrinth Zone done right. And they didn't feel like putting a boss fight on stage 3, so Eggman just runs away. I always thought it was dumb that this big fat guy was competing at the Olympics, but after seeing this, he's earned his spot, no question. Then you get the final zone called Skybase Zone because they're not lazy here and didn't just label it Final Zone like its inferior counterpart. Stupid game. And it's another difficulty jump, but it feels fair. Slowdown does occur throughout the game, and especially here, which I personally don't care about, but just a heads up if you're sensitive to that. And then you have a fight against Eggman whose pattern is pretty easy. Then you get a cutscene of Sonic delivering a final blow to Eggman on Green Hill, and the credits roll. If you get all the Chaos Emeralds, there's an extra cutscene where the factory in Smog disappears, but I didn't do this. Unlike the last game, even though I didn't get all the Emeralds, Eggman didn't clown me, and they even add them to my score as if to say good job. You see, Genesis version, I don't need the game to tell me I'm trash. I have YouTube comments for that, so this is what we call redundant design. When you don't get all the Emeralds here, it's more of a, can you find them all kind of vibe, instead of a, you're a complete waste of space, go collect the forbidden rings in Labyrinth Zone, you moron. And I could totally see myself coming back to this game to try to find them all if they ever release a Master System version somewhere. Now my friends in Europe and South America may be thinking, why not just get a Master System and play the originals? Well, unfortunately, no one in America cared about the Master System. I didn't even know the Master System existed until like several years into collecting. I knew about the scrap concept of Redneck Kong before I knew about the Master System. So it didn't sell well here, which is a shame because I would like one, but they're a little pricey. I was hoping one day they'd make a mini version of it, but recently Sega announced that they're not a retro company anymore, so no more mini consoles anytime soon it seems. I see Sega is taking a page out of my college era playbook. Pretend the last 20 years just didn't exist, okay. Sega, it's okay. My generation stomped out bullying, arguably a little too much, but you can bring back your Saturn and Dreamcast. We're not gonna make fun of you because you weren't the jock. We love everyone nowadays. So I can't play this on a Master System here because freedom isn't free. I wouldn't even be surprised if the EU government's lobbied Sega to keep this under lock. You don't have Chick-fil-A's, you don't have Chili's, you don't have the Bill of Rights, but you do have the better 8-bit Sonic 1. I would assume that most people are playing this nowadays on the Sonic Origins Plus collection, but again, this isn't the definitive Master System version. It's the Game Gear version again. And it isn't even on the physical cartridge or disc either, it's just a download code. See, I told you we stomped out bullying too much. This crap deserves a wedgie as a minimum. I almost bought this thinking it was on the cart because there's no download message on the box. Sega, you don't need to be ashamed of Typing of the Dead, you need to be ashamed of this. But with that aside, I still recommend finding a way to play it, even if it is the Game Gear version, because that's what I played after all, and I still had fun. If you don't want to follow the standard community advice and get into Sonic with the game that has the number 2 in the title, if you want to start with the game called Sonic the Hedgehog, play this one. I haven't played the one from 2006, so I guess I can't say this for certain, but I have heard things. According to my research, Sonic 2 on the Game Gear is actually the next game released chronologically, not Sonic 2 on the Genesis, so that's what we'll be looking at next. I'm going to try to play all the Sonic games, including spin-offs, in order of release, assuming they're accessible and affordable. Sorry Knuckles Chaotix fans, but I have to put my kids through college someday. Actually trying to figure out what game should be next is kinda confusing honestly, so I may need you guys to help me out. Like I said, I'm pretty sure Sonic 2 on the Game Gear is next, but let me know if I'm wrong. So until then, thanks for watching Hydrated Gaming. Have a nice day and I'll see you next time.